Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Ripple Effect Podcast. We're so glad that you're here, whether you're watching this or listening to this on the go. We are glad that you are with us. As always, the Ripple Effect Podcast is just giving you a behind-the-scenes look at some of the things going on here at Timberlake. Gives us a chance to highlight some things that we think you need to know about, and also just to have some fun with each other. So we're so glad that you're here. Welcome to this week's episode. I am joined in the studio by Miss Jessie Harper. So glad that you're here, and by Mr. Levi Black. He is in the studio. He just drew the short straw, really.
Yeah.
When's the last time you were on the podcast?
You know, since my 3-week streak, it's been like a month and a half, maybe 2 months now.
Yeah.
It's been a while.
I meant to tell you, after that streak, our viewership went way down. So that's why we...
Well, I haven't watched one since then, so...
I was going to point that out. No, but we're glad that you're in the studio with us. We kind of changed the format a little bit. So what we do to start is just to review Sunday and to talk a little bit about the stuff that we brought out on Sunday. If you missed Sunday's sermon, go to tlcc.church. You can catch it there, or you can go on YouTube or Facebook on our pages there. Just search for Timberlake Christian Church and you'll find it. We're in the second week of our series on the best Christmas ever, and we talked about the gifts that God gives us and how God's gifts are good, and if we trust in that, then whatever He gives us is going to be good. And I was curious if you have heard any or had any thoughts or ideas, because I didn't really talk too much about the wise men, because that's what the series, sermon was on. Do you guys like the wise men? Have you had any thoughts about the wise men? Have you heard any theories about who they were? Do you have any wise men lore that you know?
So whenever you're talking about how we don't actually know who the wise men are or where they were from, I had never even thought about that before.
We don't know who they are?
Yeah, that's one of those things that you just read through the story and it's not a detail that normal people or maybe not normal people, but most people, including myself, would think about whenever you're reading through it. But I thought it was really interesting that you have these people that serve a very important role that are just described as the wise men. They presented the gifts and they worship. They went and found Jesus, but we don't know where they were, just as they went back to where they were.
Yeah. You know who we also don't know? The shepherds. Mm-hmm. I mean, you don't really know who they are, there's some theories about who they were, people that came from them, but you don't really know who the shepherds are. I've heard cool theories about shepherds and then their children end up following Jesus, later on. But anyway, do you have any lore that you know?
Well, I was just thinking, I always pictured them as Oriental in my mind, as coming from Far East. But when I pictured what they looked like, I always pictured them looking like Middle Eastern. So I was
not
just
that Far
realizing
East.
I was just realizing that weird thing in my brain.
It's easy to not. It's to leave it in the story and to not have to think of it in real life. Like you said, you just read it, it's oh, that's just part of the story. But it's no, this was an account of what has happened with real life and real people. And so it is interesting to think about.
As far as lore, there's always recent people trying to figure out what the moon and the skies looked like that night and where the star. And so they're trying, you hear stories about, well, it had to have been from the Far East because of the timing of when that star appeared. So there's a lot of that.
I didn't get into the whole star, but there is a lot of astronomers have gone back, and there's people said this is why it would have taken several months for them to get from where they were to Bethlehem or Jerusalem first, is the star would have appeared at his birth, and then it would have taken him that long to travel. But then here's the cool thing about the star is that God orchestrated and ordained that star to stay there for however long it took them to get there. God will guide you to where you need to be, and He'll leave whatever is going to guide you there in place, because it eventually went away, but it stayed there until they got there. And I thought that was kind of cool. He doesn't abandon you if that goes to the verse of, He has begun a good work in you, is faithful to complete it, even if it takes a star staying in the same place. That's kind of cool to think about. Anyway, well, there you go. If you missed some of that, you go to our website, tlcc.church, or Facebook or YouTube. You can catch up there. I'd love to know if you've heard some lore or thoughts about these individuals. They're named. Historically, now they have names. 3 wise men, they've named them. I think this is way later. Like 600s. I think it was the Catholic Church that gave them names. I could be wrong. You correct me here, but there's one that starts with an M, Micah something, and then Belteshazzar or Bel something. Belteshazzar. And then there's a third one. So they did name them. They were not Donatello, Leonardo, and Raphael. They're not those, but yeah, that's not historically accurate. So anyway, if you missed any of that, go check it out. We'd love for you to catch up there. And I'm curious if you want to post in the comments to correct me if I'm wrong here, or share even your own lore or things you've heard about the wise men. Because anytime we can put it in a context where it's real life, I think it's helpful and beneficial to us. Okay, we need to move on to let you know a couple things that are coming up here at church. The top TLCC top 3 that you need to know that's happening. And Levi has the first one. Levi, take it away.
Oh, yeah. Oh, okay.
I'm putting him on the spot.
So the first one is this Saturday coming up. It would be the 14th? The 15th.
It is the 14th. You were right.
Okay. Yeah. What I said the first time.
Mm-hmm.
The 14th of December, we're having another food truck night with the Mega Tree.
Yes.
So that's Saturday, not Sunday like what we had done with the first one. Mm-hmm. Saturday evening, the 14th, we're going to be doing another food truck night. So come join us. We'll have a whole nother set of food trucks. Some will be the same, some new ones.
Some are new ones, 5:30 to 8.
Yeah.
Well, some of them, we've said 5:30 to 8. Some of them might stay later. We're not sure, but depending on who shows up. But it's fun. Get some food and enjoy the Mega Tree.
I think we should make it our personal mission to empty their food truck.
That's a great mission.
Empty the food truck.
You know, the first 2 years, I think, first year or second year we did it, we did empty a couple food trucks. But they were not prepared for the amount of people that showed up. But I think that's a great idea. My family could help with that. Okay, the second one Jesse's got. Do you remember what the second was?
Wednesday is our last Wednesday.
You nailed it.
So any classes that are going on are wrapping up, and kids will be in the gym, and their parents are invited to join them. Elementary. And
there's only one addition to that, or change to that, is the general Bible study class that meets my class is not meeting. We usually meet in 405, 406, but I have children that have asked me to be with them. So we finished our class last week, so there's not going to be any general Bible study. So the men's group will be meeting, the moms group, the women's fellowship group, and all the student activities as well. So, but my general Bible study class will not be meeting. I will be running around, hopefully throwing dodgeballs at kids' heads. All right, so you got food truck night Saturday at 5:30 starting. Wednesday night, this is the last one for the semester. Then we take our Christmas break. And then the last one, I will take this one. Saturday, we are having our men's second Saturday of the month here at 7:30. That's on the 14th here at 7:30. We'll have a Bible study. We'll share a time of prayer together. And any men, you are welcome to join us. And we'd love to see you here on Saturday. So there you go. There's your TLCC top 3 of the week. In the studio, we have with us Jesse Harper. Jesse, we announced this past week that you are going to be taking over the role of church secretary. Let's get your first reactions. How you feeling about it? Where are you emotionally, spiritually, physically?
I'm excited.
Ecumenically. Okay. You're excited?
Yeah.
Okay. When did you decide that this is something that you wanted to do? Was it immediate, or did you have to think about it?
I had to think about it because it was a part-time job,
Mm-hmm.
and I was hoping for a full-time job. So I had to think about it, pray about it, talk to people. And so I think I was like a late applicant. I don't know.
Mm-hmm.
Because it had been open for a while before I applied.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah. Okay. Well, before we get into some of that and you sharing your thoughts here, we do this thing, and you've been on the podcast before. You did some stuff for VBS, but I don't know if we did this then. Did we do 60 seconds then?
Yeah. So you don't have to do it again.
So we got to do 30 seconds now since she's already done it?
Ooh, yeah. Mm-hmm. She's gotten practice before.
Okay. So from how about this? We'll do 30 seconds from the summer to now. Give us a life update. How about that?
Ooh.
You ready?
Okay.
She does not think on the spot.
I do not.
She hates
I am not
this.
good at this.
This is like my favorite thing ever.
We had a very busy
Whoa,
summer.
whoa. Ready, go.
We had a very busy summer. We went to NYR with Levi planned a trip. We went with that. Had a great time. We started school sports in the fall. Very busy fall. I can't believe it's December already.
It's crazy.
But yeah, I've just been busy this fall cheering on sports mostly.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
You have 10 seconds.
We're remodeling our basement.
The basement.
So that's a big project.
The never-ending project of the basement.
Hopefully it will be ending soon.
I hope so. Okay, there we go. All right. I forgot we already did the 60 seconds with you. That's a bit of a bummer. I was excited for it. All right, so tell us, what people might not know is you have worked in churches before in your past. So give us just a little background of your interaction and even working with and for churches.
Okay.
I mean, not directly, but indirectly.
Yeah. Walt's been in church ministry almost our entire marriage until we came to Central. So I was always serving at any church we were at. I've done children's ministry. I directed VBSs. I did a lot of administrative assistant stuff at other churches. I did a lot of the design stuff in media, and I worked in the sound booth, and a lot of what I do here I've done in other churches the whole time. So
Levi, you can speak to this here. This is a question, and maybe this is interesting for some of you to know as well. Kind of describe the difference between participating in a church and then working for a church, being on the other side of the wall. It's not a real wall, but you know what I'm saying. Like the difference between like volunteering at a place and being a participant, you growing up and being active, and you did volunteer stuff, but then there is a change when you're now an employee of the church and helping lead the church, and there's a different dynamic at play. So maybe share a little bit about like what are those differences, maybe some of the good stuff, maybe some of the not so good stuff, and then that juicy stuff that our viewers want to know. You want to start?
I guess I'll go first.
Yours is unique, especially being here. So
so like serving in the church prior to being an employee, which I didn't do a lot of. And I would say mine's a little bit more unique because I was only like living on my own outside of my parents' house for a year and a half before I got hired on. Mm-hmm. So I didn't have a whole lot of like on my own service. It was serving with my family.
Sure. It still counts.
I mean, it does still count. And there's definitely a change that happens whenever you're volunteering as opposed to doing it for work. Mm. But the way it's really kind of helped me, which I served for just a little bit voluntarily whenever I first started at Central. So I served with the middle school for just a little bit, and wasn't able to keep that moving. But there is definitely a difference, volunteer versus doing it as an employee. Mm-hmm. But what really has kind of helped my focus is all the stuff I do in the office is my work. And then what I do during class times or stuff like that, I still try to view that as the same thing. Like, yeah, I may get paid for it, but I don't really feel like that's any different. And that's really helped me to see, like, especially Wednesday night, Sunday mornings, whenever I'm in there, like I may need to be making decisions or doing something and leading the group, but the volunteers that are in there have just as valuable of a ministry and as important of a ministry as what I'm doing. Mm-hmm. And so it helps me kind of make sure that all of us are on an equal playing field, that just because I get paid doesn't mean I have greater influence or anything. Yeah. But there is definitely a little bit of a shift in how it feels to volunteer versus then get paid for what you're doing. Yeah.
What about you, Jesse? Because you've been on both sides of it, and then for you it's unique because you were the wife.
Yeah,
so you had a different
I've never
role.
been paid for anything in my time serving. I've always been a volunteer, and I always give 110%. So I don't know.
It's not possible to give 110%.
Thank you. I don't know I don't know about this shift.
But
yet
I guess we'll find out.
I'll find out.
But there is, for you, less so at the college, because your husband is a professor at the Christian college. But when he was working in ministry, there is an expectation that usually comes with the family of the person in ministry that they need to show up or they need to participate. So maybe you didn't get paid, but there is an extra level of like feeling of responsibility.
Yes, that's true. Very true. And I think you nailed it with the word expectation. Mm-hmm. Everyone has an expectation of you, mm-hmm. and it's always, everyone's is different. Mm-hmm. So mm-hmm. there's that level of trying to make sure we're all on the same page, I guess, on what your role is, mm-hmm. and how the role plays out, and having grace with all that.
Now, I'm just curious. This might be, we might get into some hot water here, but how do you guys, and this is an ongoing thing, but how do you maintain a love for the church when you're on the side of volunteering and working a lot? Because that can be challenging in and of itself when, you know, this is my church, but I'm also serving it. They're paying me, but it's also the place I want to love and care for these people. And sometimes, how do you maintain a love for the church while also working it? I mean, you kind of touched on it a little bit of viewing certain aspects of your job as volunteering, but do you have anything to say to that?
I think that was a good point. Like realizing that some of this is just, I have to do it because it's work, but some of this part is actually my ministry, and like maybe just realizing that I can compartmentalize that part that may be hard. Maybe just focus on, like, get it done because it's my job, mm-hmm. but then the part that the other parts where you can need to show grace and stuff, focus on that as your ministry. I don't know. Again, it'll be new for me, but I liked how you were saying that. So
I also, one thing that Laura and I have done for several years now is helping with the children's overnighter, Mary's overnighter.
Oh yeah.
But then, so I think for me, doing stuff outside of what you normally do, that would probably be my answer of still serving the church, but doing stuff outside of what your realm of ministry is and doing that voluntarily. That I think helps me still see the church in the same light of this is where I serve. And I have my job, but I'm also a member here along with all of the other congregation members. Yeah. So being able to serve outside of my direct area of ministry is very valuable to me, to be able to still do it voluntarily.
I think it's a good point, and maybe some of you feel this way as you're watching. When I try to remember, when I ask someone to volunteer for something, they are having to add that on top of their job. And when I feel like I have to volunteer for something here, if I get salty or soury about it, and I'm like, I'm just add it on to the next thing I have to do. It's like, well, wait a minute. Like, you've got a normal job that requires this many hours, and then just like anyone else, there's extra stuff that you can do, maybe that you're uniquely suited to do, or maybe that God's gifted you to do, or you just are available, that this is and it's messier for people who work in ministry, like trying to figure out what's volunteer, what's paid and stuff. Maybe for some people it's not, but it can be messy. But I'm grateful for so many of you guys who, like, you volunteer on top of your normal job. You know, so like when you come here and do slides early Sunday morning, that's on top of your job that you're already doing. Security or singing, or a lot of you who are helping with the kids, like, you work your normal job and then you serve on top of that. So it is good to remember, like, we shouldn't be any different just because you're paid, for ministry. That's good. I think it is challenging sometimes to maintain a love for the place where you work, especially because you're there a whole lot. But let's get back to you, because you're going to be taking on a new job. What are you scared about?
I'm scared of all the knowledge that Dawn has up in her head that it will take me time to learn. I know that, but what are we miss? What will we miss? And because I don't like to be wrong, and I don't like to make mistakes. So.
Got to be exact. Got to be exact. So, which congregation member are you most worried about? Let's just get to the real stuff here. Let's
I've got
let's start
like a whole
naming
list.
names, and
People
let's
have
start.
been giving
Does Dawn have a black book somewhere of names?
She has not shared that with me.
Okay, good. That's probably a good thing. That's probably a good thing.
She wants me to make my own.
Okay. So, what do you hope your relationship will be like with people as the church secretary? And have you had past experiences with church secretaries that you've either worked with or been around that maybe you want to emulate, or maybe a negative example that you want to not do?
All the church secretaries I've worked with have been awesome. They know everything.
Mm-hmm, they do know a lot.
You can go to them for anything. And I'm not saying that I expect that of myself, but I'm looking forward to getting to meet people that I haven't met yet, and being able to see how this church works together from a different angle.
Mm-hmm.
I've been here for 10 years. I've seen it from the member angle, so it'll be interesting to see how everyone works together from a different angle. And I'm looking forward to that. Looking forward to seeing what people have, that skills they have that I didn't know, and backgrounds, and just really getting to know people. And I feel like in my experience with working with other secretaries, that's always like, you say, who is someone in the church that, makes lasagna really well? The church secretary always knows that.
Mm-hmm.
Or, so I'm looking forward to being able to know that about people.
And that's part of the knowledge you're talking about with Dawn.
Yes, with Dawn.
You want to know what I'm scared about?
Sure.
This happens anytime like someone new comes on. I'm scared that like as you like see under the hood of stuff, you're gonna be like, wow, these people are really messed up, and everything that they're doing is just like so many problems. I don't even know where to begin. But it's good though, because you always need a different perspective on things. But that's what I'm like, oh man, someone coming in and someone who is detail oriented and is, can see how things flow. So I'm hopeful that you will be like, oh, we could work on some of these things. But I'm also like nervous that, it's like when you have someone who knows, like who's a really good mechanic, look at the job you just did, and it's like, wow, you really messed this one up. So I'm nervous about that.
I get that. I don't think I will do that to you.
Well, yeah, I hope you do, but I just, be kind about it, be gentle about it. Was good. Well, I am excited. When do you start?
So I'm training now. I hope to be full-time in the office the week of January 6th.
Okay. Awesome. And we're adding a little bit more to this role. What are we adding to the role of the job you're taking on?
So currently we're adding to like taking the design stuff off of Brian's plate. So like website, social media apparently, and like the slides and graphics and stuff like that. And then hopefully adding more as we get moving, like starting with volunteers with like greeting and all that, but hopefully I don't know, it's kind of undefined right now, so
yeah, I kind of put you on the spot there. I really just meant to say like it is a church secretary job, but with what Dawn does, but we're going to be adding stuff to your plate. You have the skill sets to do it, but also just trying out some new stuff of visitor follow-ups, helping kind of coordinate stuff amongst the staff, some different things that you're going to have kind of a little bit more of a bigger role in the church life. So I'm excited for that. It'll be experimental, and I like experimenting. I do. I like trying out stuff just to see, will this work? So that'll be fun. That'll be good. Final question. What you can both speak to this. What's an essential item you have to have for in an office for you? What's an essential item that you need to make it through a work day in your office?
My computer.
That was too easy. I should have made it harder than that. Levi?
I mean, so Rachel and I still share an office right now. So I have like my desk.
You have your little corner, yeah.
Yeah, I have my desk and my chair. And that's, let's see, I'm trying to think of like what's something I use.
He's a simple man, folks. He just needs a desk and a chair.
So I tell Laura this all the time because she'll like ask me stuff that I want or anything. I'm like, the basic. Like I'm a simple man all the time. Yeah. It's like whenever I eat a hot dog, it's just a ketchup on it. That's it. Like nothing fancy. And anyway, so I honestly don't know. I don't know. One of the things, so I use a laptop, I have to use a mouse. So I would go with that because like I hate using the trackpad.
The little track thing.
Yes,
Yeah.
so I have to use a mouse all the time whenever I'm on my laptop.
Yeah,
If you
good.
want a different answer than computer, I would say a harder chair for my back.
So it's
People
not.
think that I'm very weird.
Yeah, but you want it. You want a stiff chair. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. I think probably headphones, because for me, because I get if I leave the door open, then I just end up talking with people or get distracted and I don't get done what I need to get done. So if I really need to get something done, I can close the door and I can put my headphones in. And this is way too much information. You guys don't need to know it. But sometime search for lo-fi hymns, okay? And it's like this rhythmic beat, but a guy playing like hymns to it. Lo-fi is a type of music, like a focused meditating music stuff, but lo-fi hymns, and then you can kind of, it's very interesting. It's either that or classical music that I'll put in that I have to focus on. It can't really be any lyrics because then I'm singing along to it, so it's got to be instrumental. But anyway, probably my headphones is one that I like to because I get distracted very easily, so I need to have something that locks me in. And snacks. Yeah, I gotta have some snacks.
Diet Coke.
Oh yeah. Well, if you have questions about transition or how it's going to happen, or even questions for Jesse about maybe things that you're curious about or that you want to know, she's going to be around and around a lot more, and we're going to hear from her more as well, and hopefully we'll be able to drag her on the podcast even more. But we're glad that you're here, and we're grateful for this new phase of ministry. Yeah. It's going to be exciting. Well, thank you for joining us here this week on the Ripple Effect Podcast. We hope that you have a wonderful rest of the week, and we will see you right here next time on this podcast. We'll see you guys.
See ya.